My sister launched her business venture using the money she swindled from my inheritance. But as fate would have it, karma caught up with her, and soon enough, her once promising enterprise began to crumble. I'm a 28-year-old man who lost my dad last year to a sudden heart attack. It's been a tough road, especially with the fallout involving my stepmom Karen and my stepbrother Liam. My dad and I were close, but the atmosphere was always strained when it came to Karen. My dad was financially comfortable, owning 2 properties, a family home in the suburbs, and a stunning vacation house by Lake Tahoe. In his will, he left the family home to Karen and the lake house to me. That lake house is more than just a property to me. It's where we spent countless summers together, fishing, boating, and creating memories that I hold dear. But things got complicated fast. Just a week after the funeral, I drove up to the lake house, needing some solitude to process my grief. To my surprise, I found that Karen and Liam had already moved in. They claimed that my dad had verbally promised them the lake house, and they weren't planning to leave. I was stunned. I showed them the will, but Karen dismissed it, insisting that she needed the house more than I did, now that she was a single mom. She accused me of being selfish, insisting that my dad would have wanted them to stay there. I tried to explain how much the place meant to me, but the conversation quickly escalated into a heated argument. Karen accused me of never accepting her as family, and in the heat of the moment, I said things I regret. I pointed out that she always seemed more interested in my dad's wealth than in being part of our family. Things got ugly, and I ended up storming out, feeling betrayed and enraged. I immediately contacted a lawyer, who confirmed that the lake house was legally mine and advised me to start the eviction process. I sent Karen an official notice to vacate, but she tore it up and sent me a picture of the shredded remains. Now, my extended family is getting involved. My dad's sister, Aunt Rachel, supports me, saying I'm just standing up for what's rightfully mine. But my dad's brother, Uncle Rob, thinks I'm being heartless towards a widow and her son who just lost their husband and father. Karen's been telling everyone that I'm trying to force them into homelessness, conveniently leaving out the fact that she already has the family home. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Am I wrong for wanting the house that my dad left me? Should I just let them have it to keep the peace? I don't want to hurt Liam, but I also don't want to lose my inheritance and the place that holds so many precious memories of my dad. Edit. Thank you for all the responses. I'd like to clarify a few points. 1. I have my own apartment in the city, so I'm not exactly without a roof over my head. 2. Meanwhile, Karen and Liam are comfortably settled in the family home, with the lake house originally intended as a place for us all to unwind during vacations. 3. There's no official record of Dad ever verbally promising them the lake house. It's simply their word against the will he left behind. Update 1. It's been a month since my first post, and the situation has gone from bad to worse. I wanted to keep you all in the loop about this ongoing nightmare. After consulting with my lawyer, I decided to move forward with the eviction process. I sent Karen a formal notice, giving her 30 days to vacate the property. Her response was swift. She hired a high-powered attorney and is now contesting the will in court. Their argument hinges on the claim that my dad made verbal promises to Karen about the lake house, insisting that the will doesn't accurately reflect his true final wishes. It's maddening because I know this isn't true, but it's her word against that of a man who's no longer here to defend himself. They're trying to paint a picture of my dad as someone who would break his promises to his own son, and it's devastating to see his memory being tarnished like this. The court battle is dragging on, and it's draining my finances at an alarming rate. I'm burning through my savings on legal fees faster than I ever anticipated. Meanwhile, Karen and Liam are still enjoying the lake house, refusing to leave until the court reaches a decision. The family drama has spiraled out of control. My aunts and uncles are picking sides, and it's tearing our family apart. Aunt Rachel is firmly in my corner, even offering to help cover some of my legal expenses. Uncle Rob, however, is fully backing Karen. He's always had a soft spot for her, and I'm beginning to suspect there's more to their relationship than I ever realized. My cousins are caught in the middle, unsure of whose side to take. Family gatherings have turned into a battlefield of tension and passive-aggressive remarks. Last Sunday's dinner ended with Aunt Rachel throwing a glass of wine in Uncle Rob's face after he accused me of being a heartless gold digger. Amid all this chaos, Liam reached out to me privately. He sent me a long text saying he feels trapped in the middle of this feud. He told me he misses the times when we used to get along and wishes everyone could just sit down and talk things out. I genuinely feel bad for him, I really do. But I can't shake the suspicion that Karen might be using him to manipulate my emotions. I'm starting to doubt everything. Am I being too rigid? Should I just let them have the house to bring an end to this nightmare? But then I look at the photos of Dad and me at the lake, and my resolve hardens all over again. This isn't just about a house. It's about fulfilling my dad's wishes and safeguarding the memories we built together. The weight of it all is wearing me down, affecting every corner of my life. I've had to take time off work to attend endless legal meetings and court sessions. My girlfriend Sarah is growing increasingly frustrated with how consumed I am by this ordeal. Last night, we had a huge argument because I missed our anniversary dinner while I was on the phone with my lawyer. I'm exhausted, overwhelmed, and feeling like I'm losing myself in this struggle. But despite it all, I'm resolved to see this through. I know my dad would want me to stand up for what's right. I'll post another update when there's more to share, hopefully with some good news that signals the end of this mess. Update 2. It's been 3 months since my last update, and things have taken some wild, unexpected twists. Brace yourself, because this has been one hell of a roller coaster ride. The court case dragged on at a painfully slow pace, with both sides presenting their arguments and evidence. My lawyer was confident. We had a strong case grounded in the clear wording of the will. Meanwhile, Karen's lawyer kept pushing the idea of a verbal agreement, but they didn't have any solid proof. Then, out of the blue, Karen's lawyer came forward with a settlement offer. They suggested that Karen and Liam would move out of the lake house, but in exchange, I'd have to pay them a significant sum as a relocation fee. I was torn. On one hand, accepting the offer would end the legal battle and get them out of the house. But on the other, it felt like I was being blackmailed. Why should I pay them to leave a house that was rightfully mine? After lengthy discussions with my lawyer and Aunt Rachel, I decided to counter with a lower offer. We went back and forth for weeks, eventually settling on an amount that, while still substantial, wouldn't wipe out my savings. Just when I thought the ordeal was finally over, Karen played her next card. She went to the local media with her side of the story. A small Lake Tahoe newspaper ran a front-page article portraying me as a heartless stepson, evicting a grieving widow and her child. Conveniently, they omitted the part about the family home and the settlement money. The article spread like wildfire. Suddenly, I was bombarded with angry messages from strangers on social media. People I hadn't spoken to since high school were sharing the article, calling me all sorts of names. Even distant relatives who hadn't reached out once during this whole ordeal suddenly had a lot to say about what a terrible person I was. It felt like I was losing control of the story. I considered giving my own interview to set the record straight, but my lawyer advised against it. He warned that engaging with the media could hurt our case if it ended up back in court. In the midst of this media frenzy, Liam gave me a call. He was in tears, apologizing profusely for the article, insisting he had no idea his mother would take such drastic action. The anguish in his voice was unmistakable, and it made the entire situation feel even more chaotic. Then, he revealed something that sent a shiver down my spine. Karen had started drinking heavily and had begun verbally lashing out at him. I felt an overwhelming sense of pity for Liam, but a small, skeptical part of me couldn't help but wonder if this was just another attempt at manipulation. The timing seemed almost too perfect. But then he dropped a bombshell that altered everything. "There's something else you need to know," he said, his voice shaking. "I found some old letters hidden in Mom's closet. I think she was having an affair with Uncle Rob while Dad was still alive." I was speechless. Could this really be true? It would certainly explain Uncle Rob's unwavering loyalty to Karen throughout this entire ordeal. My mind was racing, struggling to make sense of this revelation. I asked Liam to send me photos of the letters, and when he did, I saw enough to know they were damning. Though the letters were somewhat vague, there were undeniably incriminating phrases hinting at a long-term affair. I shared the letters with my lawyer, who confirmed that if we could prove Karen's infidelity during the marriage, it could dramatically alter the course of our case. Now, I find myself grappling with a moral quandary. Should I use this information to bolster my case, or should I keep it under wraps to shield Liam and the rest of the family from the inevitable fallout? Part of me longs to expose Karen for who she truly is, but another part worries that doing so would drag me down to her level. Through all of this, I've been reflecting on my dad and what he would have wanted. I found his old fishing rod tucked away in the garage, and I spent an afternoon by the lake, reminiscing about our time together. It helped clarify my resolve. This house held deep meaning for us, and I wasn't about to let it go without a fight. For now, the settlement talks are on pause while my lawyer and I strategize our next move with this new evidence in hand. I'm hopeful we can find a resolution soon and finally put this mess behind us. I'll update again when there's more to share. This situation has grown far more complicated than I ever anticipated, and I'm beginning to understand that in family disputes like this, there aren't really any winners, only varying degrees of loss. Update 3. Another 2 months have passed, and I find myself with a mix of good news, bad news, and some truly shocking discoveries. Let's start with the good news. We finally reached a settlement. Karen and Liam agreed to vacate the lake house. In exchange, I compensated them with the agreed-upon amount to cover their relocation expenses. It wasn't a small sum, but it was still less than what I would have spent had the court battle dragged on. Now, on to the bad news. Karen didn't leave without causing a scene. When I arrived on moving day, the lake house was a disaster zone. Furniture was destroyed, the walls were damaged, and it looked like they had thrown a wrecking party before leaving. The worst part was seeing the handcrafted dining table, which my dad and I had built together, smashed into pieces. I was absolutely livid. I called my lawyer immediately, but he advised me to document everything instead of confronting them directly. We're currently exploring legal options for the damages, though he cautioned me that pursuing this might reignite the legal battle we had just settled. And now, for the most shocking revelation. Remember those letters Liam found hinting at an affair between Karen and Uncle Rob? Well, it turns out the truth is far more complicated than we imagined. A week after Karen and Liam moved out, I received a thick envelope in the mail. Inside was a letter from my dad, dated just days before his death, along with a stack of documents. The letter revealed everything, flipping my world upside down. Dad confessed that he had known about Karen and Uncle Rob's affair for years. He chose to stay in the marriage for Liam's sake, but all the while he had been quietly collecting evidence and planning his exit. The documents included reports from private investigators, bank statements with suspicious transactions, and even DNA test results. The DNA results were the biggest shock of all. They confirmed that Liam isn't my dad's biological son. He's Uncle Rob's child. In the letter, Dad explained that he had planned to confront Karen and file for divorce, but his heart attack came before he could act. He apologized for leaving me to deal with the aftermath and clarified that the lake house was always meant to be mine, as a way to compensate for the years of deception he had endured. This revelation explained so much. Karen's desperation to claim the lake house, Uncle Rob's fervent support of her, and even the subtle tension I had always felt with Liam despite my efforts to be a good stepbrother. I was at a loss with this revelation. A part of me was driven to reveal everything, to clear my dad's name and expose the truth about Karen to everyone. But another part of me couldn't stop thinking about Liam. He was completely blameless, and knowing the truth would shatter him. After a lot of introspection and sessions with my therapist, yes, I began therapy to help me cope with all the stress, I decided to keep this information to myself for now. I reached out to Liam and invited him to visit me at the lake house once the repairs were complete. I felt he deserved to hear the truth, but it needed to come from me, not as some explosive public scandal. Our family is more fractured than ever. Those who stand by me are outraged at the damage done to the house, while Karen's supporters blame me, claiming I drove her to this with my supposed cruelty. I haven't shared the letter or the results of the DNA test with anyone, not even Aunt Rachel. I've begun the long and costly process of repairing the lake house. It's going to take time, but I'm determined to restore it to the way it was when my dad was alive. Whenever I feel overwhelmed, I reread my dad's letter and remind myself why this place means so much. Although the media frenzy has mostly subsided, I still occasionally receive nasty comments from strangers who came across the original article. I'm trying to let those go and focus on moving forward. This whole ordeal has profoundly changed me. I've uncovered more about family secrets, the legal system, and human nature than I ever wished to know. I've lost relationships with some family members, but I've also discovered who truly has my back. Once the repairs are finished, I plan to take some time off and spend a few weeks at the lake house. I want to reconnect with my memories of my dad, process everything I've been through, and figure out my next steps. I hope this will be the last dramatic update I have to write, but given how unpredictable life can be, I can't make any guarantees. If there's one thing I've learned through all this, it's that life is full of surprises. Final update. It's been 6 months since my last update, and I'm both happy and relieved to say that this will be my final post in this ongoing saga. A lot has happened, and I want to share how everything has finally come to a resolution. After the damage to the lake house, I made the tough decision to press charges against Karen for vandalism. It wasn't an easy choice, but I felt it was necessary to stand up for myself one last time. The evidence was undeniable, and she was ultimately ordered to pay for the repairs. This legal action deepened the divide in the family, but surprisingly it also led to some unexpected reconciliations. Liam, who turned 18 during all of this, reached out to me. He apologized for his role in the drama and shared how hard it had been living with Karen's bitterness and anger. We met up at a coffee shop, and I made the difficult decision to tell him the truth about everything. The affair, the DNA test, all of it. It was a deeply emotional conversation, to say the least. Liam was both shocked and wounded, yet amidst the pain, he admitted to feeling an odd sense of relief. He revealed that he had always felt like an outsider within the family, and now he finally understood why. We spent hours talking, shedding tears, and trying to process the overwhelming revelations together. In a twist I never anticipated, Liam asked if he could move in with me. He said he couldn't stand the thought of living with Karen any longer, knowing the truth about what she had done. After giving it some thought, I agreed. For the past few months, Liam and I have been living together in my apartment, and it's been a journey of healing for both of us. The repairs on the lake house took longer than we expected, but they are finally complete. Stepping into the restored house for the first time was an incredibly emotional moment. It looked exactly as it did when my dad was still alive, and I could almost feel his presence in the air. Now, here's where things get even more interesting. Remember Uncle Rob? Well, the truth eventually surfaced. Shortly after Liam moved in with me, Karen had a meltdown, and in a drunken tirade at a family gathering I wasn't at, she spilled everything. The fallout was explosive. Uncle Rob's wife left him, and he's now a pariah within the family. Karen moved to another state, likely trying to outrun the scandal. The last I heard, she's on some sort of soul-searching journey at a yoga retreat in Bali. Meanwhile, the extended family is slowly beginning to come together again, rallying around Liam and me. At a recent family gathering, Aunt Rachel took me aside and apologized for not seeing through Karen's facade all these years. She's been a tremendous support, especially for Liam as he navigates his new reality. Over these months I've done a lot of soul-searching. While I don't regret standing up for what was rightfully mine, I do regret how messy and painful everything became. I've learned valuable lessons about the importance of clear communication, empathy, and the necessity of proper estate planning. In an unexpected twist, I've reconnected with Sarah. We bumped into each other at a mutual friend's wedding, and after a long, heartfelt conversation about everything that had happened, we decided to give our relationship another chance. She's been incredibly supportive of both me and Liam. The lake house has now become a place of healing for our once fractured family. I've started a new tradition of hosting an annual family weekend there, where we fish, reminisce about Dad, and work on rebuilding our relationships.